Okay, everyone, welcome to the University of KwaZulu-Natal Center for Civil Society series. And today we are hosting Bongani. So my name is Denford Chipongodze. I'm a research fellow based here at the Center for Civil Society. I'll be chairing this session. Today we have a special guest, Bongani Mthembu, from this South Durban Community Environmental Alliance. He will give a talk titled, "Are we making strides towards environmental justice in South Africa? The work of this South Durban Community Environmental Alliance." Bongani, it is an honor hosting you today. Just to introduce Bongani to our fellow colleagues and comrades, Bongani Mthembu is an activist in the human and environmental rights space and has been based at the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance for 16 years. Bongani is an air quality and health and GIS officer. His focus is on environmental and health pollution in the KZN province, specifically the South Durban area. The South Durban Basin is the industrial zone of the province, hosting 2 of the major oil refineries and 2 of the biggest paper and pulp mills, as well as a multitude of other chemical industries. So Bongani, welcome to our special seminar series on the civil society reflections on 30 years of democracy in South Africa. So I will give you 30 to 40 minutes to give your reflections on South Durban Community Environmental Alliance's struggles for environmental justice, and try to relate that to, the 30 years of democracy that we are celebrating today. And of course, we inaugurated His Excellency President Ramaphosa today to take on his 2nd term. So we will dedicate the remaining time for question and answers. Hopefully, people will join in as we as time goes by. Thanks again, Bongani, for making time to participate in this seminar series. We just want to learn more about the south of Durban. They usually call it the Durban's armpit. So you can begin your talk, Bongani. Thanks again for making time.
No, thanks very much, comrades, for the invite. Much appreciated. It's an honor to meet and engage with comrades like you guys that have been long in the struggle. Basically, I don't feel that I'm a guest. However, I feel that I'm part of the comrades in the struggle, and it's for us to share and just keep each other on par as to what has been going on in our respective provinces. So really and truly speaking, I don't feel I'll be speaking to people who are clueless about the struggle. I feel that you guys somehow, somewhere, you'll know exactly the struggle that we faced with in KZN province, but also in the country, in the respective works that we do. But yeah, no, thanks again, Comrade Ben, for inviting me, and Comrade Dan for actually doing that introduction. Much appreciated. So I do have a PowerPoint slide that I can share, if maybe I can be given rights to share. my presentation, I really appreciate.
Can,
I'll just speak over
can you?
that presentation. I won't dwell on it.
Okay. Just
Okay, I
try
have the
sharing.
rights.
Okay. You have.
Okay, 100%. I have the rights. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, comrades. Basically, yeah, my sharing of today, it's more on the environmental health and equality in KZN, South Durban in particular, but also sharing the engagements that we have had with different local, provincial, and national spheres of government in regards to the work that we do. So, as you rightfully said, introduce me, Comrade Dan. Basically, this is who we are and this is what we stand for, as an organization with 23 communities affiliates and growing. And basically, our member struggles to bring environmental standards to industrial and communities to start to that we can coexist in the South Durban area. And we disseminate information throughout communities, newsletters, books, and so forth. So we engage with communities, on different spheres. For example, community meetings, school workshops in different communities, and so forth. So we believe in empowering our communities, especially in the South Durban area or in Durban in particular. So basically, our work has been around, or the heart of the matter has been around industrial pollution, multinational taking advantage of the country, especially as we all know that we are a developing country. So these industries, these multinational, they come from overseas, we're just hosting them in the country, but they have the nerve, to play double standards and not adhere to the laws of these countries, bylaws of this country, and basically infringe on our constitutional rights. If maybe I will just name Section 24A example that speaks around the issue of everyone has a right to a clean environment that is not harmful to the health and well-being. Typical example, this picture that you see in front of you, these are innocent children playing soccer. Just right behind them, you can see this machinery, this massive, unfortunately, this picture does not do justice in actually portraying a true reflection of this engine refinery. But that goes to show that, where kids supposed to be playing peacefully and being safe, and unfortunately they have to breathe all those toxins, and they have no other way to play. They have no other, community to go to. But this is the community that they were born, and they actually grow in this community. But still, the constitutional right has been infringed for decades. And this picture that you see now, it's over 18 years. So possibly these young boys here now, they're around maybe the age of 23, 24 years of age, or if not, maybe 26 years of age. These are young men now. And obviously from being exposed to such chemicals, I doubt that they're 100% in terms of their health, and their well-being, because they've been exposed to these kind of chemical from these refineries. I did mention the issue of Section 24A in our constitutional rights, in our constitution. So I also won't dwell so much on the issue of introducing the work that we do. I won't go into the nitty-gritties of that, but basically the core work is around empowering our communities around environmental justice and human rights issues, working with different communities, all the way from, Kwamashu, going down to what you call this place, past Mkomas, going down that side. We even have another office as well in Richards Bay where we target different Zululand communities that side. We even work as far as Ulundi, with Ulundi communities where there are mines, they are suffering from mines. So we're not only situated in South Durban, but the second office in Richards Bay also covers those areas around the north of KZN. Yeah. So, comrades, our work that we do, we believe that there's a lack when it's come to our government ensuring that our constitutional right is protected. Section 24A in particular. As we can see on this on my slide, explosions, fires, and flares. Some of those flares on the bottom middle picture there, those are flares that are very often seen by residents of South Durban, because these are normal flares emanating from these industries for decades. Because if I'm talking about decades, we're looking at, for example, Engen Refinery. It was ExxonMobil when they actually built the refinery. It was American corporation, ExxonMobil. They built in 1953. After years, they milked the cow, and then they saw that, the car is about to collapse. Then they decided to sell the cow. And who bought the cow? It was Malaysians. The Malaysians took over. So basically, they milked the cow as well until there was no more milk coming from the cow. So basically, that's why there have been continuous explosions and fires over the years. And the very same corporation has been infringing on our constitutional rights, and yet the company itself has not been penalized for such acts, And when it was still managed or run by ExxonMobil, the Americans, there was an agreement between Engen, the Americans, and UKZN, the very same institution that you guys are basically based in. There was an agreement to host Black students. The Black students, namely popular names such as Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was there, Steve Biko, late Steve Biko was there, Pravin Godan was there. So prominent names were residing in the Engen refinery because of that agreement, because obviously Black lives were cheap. So all the white students, they were accommodated in the institution UKZN premises, in the rest within the institution and the CBD. So obviously they were well taken care of. But the Black Indian colored and the Black students, their lives were cheap. So they were dumped inside the refinery premises, because the refinery had some building within the refinery close to these decks that you see, close to these tanks that you see. Just few meters away from these tanks and stacks. The Black student that I just mentioned, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Steve Biko, and the likes, they were residing in the refinery. How can a Black life be so cheap to actually take a person to reside, to sleep, to wake up, to eat in a refinery? So that was the brutal mentality and act of the apartheid government. So some of these students, they were students of political science, doing political science, some of them doing the PhD around medicine and so forth and so forth. Some were doing the engineering, but mostly were Black, not even mostly, it was just only purely Black, Indian, and colored students that were residing there. So these students tried by all means to make sure that they do not stay long in the refinery, in the rest, so-called rest within the premises of the refinery. because of all the chemical, the smell, the toxicity that's, within the refinery itself. They made sure they wake up as early as possible, take the first or second bus out of the area, obviously to university, UKZN, and leave the university or wherever they're leaving from with the last transport, the last bus, going back to the rest of which it was in the refinery. Because the toxicity of the atmosphere within the refinery, it was totally unacceptable. So they tried by all means to stay away. Imagine them having to wash their clothes, hang their clothes, and those clothes were smelling chemicals. Because now, if I can put a fire, let's say for example, I was cutting grass and the grass is dry now, and then there's clothes in the washing, and then I put on a fire on that dry grass. Obviously, it affects the clothing. So similar situation here, but now this is similar and it's even dangerous because now we're not talking about a smell of grass smelling, smoke from the grass that was burnt. No, this is chemicals. So they were smelling of chemicals and they could not avoid it because they needed to wash their clothes, they needed to bathe, they needed to wear those clothes, and definitely, those clothes were smelling of these toxins. So yeah, that's just a brief explanation about the issue of the Ellen Taylor. It was called the Ellen Taylor RES. The RES name, it was called Ellen Taylor. So it's very historical, with ExxonMobil, Ellen Taylor, UKZN, cheap black lives, students, they can go and stay in the refinery. If it explodes, yeah, it's okay, it kills all of them, and the white privilege students, obviously they were well taken care of, staying within the premises of the institution or the CBD. So basically that's how it actually happened. Yeah, so basically these were, some of the major industry incidents, through Sapref Refinery, 21st April 2004. And then, yeah, as you can see, Engine Refinery, 16 April 2006. Those are government flats that you see accommodating the colored community. And then just behind those flats, as you can see, that thick black smoke, that's where the refinery is at, Engine Refinery. So that was a norm for Mia Bank as well as Wentworth community to see such sites, because these refineries were flaring, startups and explosions. So yeah, they were basically sleeping with one eye open, all the time because, they know that there are pipelines even underneath the roads and stuff, heading all the way to IVS, Island View Storage Facility in the at the Finland area, just past the Bluff area. Yeah, 2006, 11 October. That was Sapref. Yeah, and then Sapref again, 28 October, 2006. Yeah. And yeah, 2006, Sapref. And then the Island View Storage Facility in Finland that I just spoke about. This is an area where it's one of the biggest chemical storage facility in the Southern Hemisphere. So that's one of the economical hub of the country because that's where these products are being stored. Your jet fuel, petrol, diesel, and gas, and a host of other chemicals as well from these refineries and other companies such as Afrox, Sasol, Engine, Sapref, and a host of other different companies. They hire tanks from IVS, Island View Storage Facility, and then basically they pay rent and then they store their products in these tanks. So it's one of the biggest chemical storage farm in the Southern Hemisphere, right here in the Bluff area. And it's also under the key points, national key points. Yeah. So yeah, that's your engine in November 2007. Yeah, it was just a year before I actually joined the organization. In fact, just a couple of months after, yeah, I joined the organization. This was another fire, October 2011. And then people were stunned and, they're just overlooking and not knowing and realizing the danger, because on this very same road that they are standing on, there are pipelines that are running underneath it. There are 15 pipelines, 15, 7 from engine, 8 from subref, running parallel to Island View Storage Facility, carrying products such as jet fuel, gas, LPG gas, diesel, petrol. So that tells you a story that what they are looking at, it can actually erupt from where they are actually standing. That's the KZN Oil Company factory in Mobeni. Yeah, 2015 in March. It was on fire, and yeah, there was a big mess that also happened there. As you can see, thick wax from the oil company, and then this company was appointed to clean, spill check all that wax that actually ran to the stormwater drains, and then it ran into the river, Amanzi Mnyama River, and then basically it was blocking and disturbing the flow of water onto that Amanzi Mnyama canal. So yeah, you guys also witnessed this as well, that happened in March 2017, Transnet fire, where the warehouse was basically leased to different companies. And about 30 something products, about 34 to 37 different products. And wax was part of the products that was there, and other products. And basically it caught fire. We're not sure what actually started the fire. And then basically the whole warehouse that you see there, the picture is not even doing justice as well. It collapsed through the fire. Yeah, the fire extinguishers, they were there. Unfortunately, you can never fight a chemical product fire with water. And unfortunately, I am not blaming the firefighters, because they are not even given a heads up what are they going to come across with. For example, they came there to attend to an emergency, but they were not aware what was stored there. They were not aware, even if let's say there were gas cylinders there, they were really risking their lives, because some of these storage chemical facility, there is no information that is coming. There is no flow of information from the owner of the product to the local authorities, to the fire city disaster and emergency, as well as flowing into the fire fighters as well, so that they know that in this section of our city, we have these kind of explosives or these kind of products that are very dangerous to the environment and to human beings. This part of section of the city, we have this kind of, there's no information. There's a lot of secrecy around these industries and storing very, very dangerous and explosive products. So that's why they could not stop the fire, because they were caught off guard, putting water onto chemicals that are very, very flammable. It did not make any sense. So obviously they know that they should have came with foam, for example, because you can only fight a chemical product fire with foam, then you can actually put it off. But also the big question is, how much foam would have required to be able to put that fire off? You see, so these are kind of questions that arises as well. Maybe the other requirements as well that I will just think out of the box is, if you are hosting these kind of explosive chemical products, it should be a requirement that on site in the premises, it's your responsibility as the owner of those products, to have foam freely available for such cases like this to happen. There is foam on site that can be used by the emergency units. So as you can see, the poor guys, they were fighting fire with, I don't know, it's like they were putting literally the dead water. To me, it was like they were literally fueling the fire even more, because yeah, it just didn't make sense. But yeah, they had to be seen doing something, unfortunately. Yeah. So it was basically a display. As you can see, the thick black plume, it was flying over the CBD from where's this place, the Transnet warehouse in right here, just below Rosebank area. It was flowing over all the way to Durban North. As you can see, that's Pavilion. It's flowing over. And yeah, it's just basically, it wasn't a small thing. It was a massive, massive fire. Engine fire for 4th December 2020. So as you can see, it was a big fire as well. I remember when the fire erupted, people in this community in Merebank, because they are the adjacent community to the refinery, they felt that tremor. They felt that tremor inside their properties. Everything just shook when that explosion happened. That's why most of the properties in Merebank and Wentworth actually have cracked walls after that fire, because that tremor actually shook, foundations of properties. Till to date, Engine has not compensated those property owners with from the damage that they have caused as a refinery. Yeah, you guys will know the July unrest, UPL fire in Konobia, that erupted there during the unrest. This is another culprit as well, this company called UPL. This is a company all the way from India coming here, making business, and they're making massive. They are multi-billion company. They are selling pesticides to commercial farmers, your Hewlett, sugar, your Hewlett, these different commercial farmers that requires pesticides. They offer this, they have these chemical, pesticide chemical that they sell to those commercial fires. Who knew that they were very toxic, dangerous chemical stored in that warehouse? No one knew, because there's no honesty, there is no information flowing, there is a lot of secrecy. When they hired that warehouse, UPL as a company, when they hired that what's called this, that warehouse in Konobia, they did not disclose what they were going to store, how dangerous and flammable it's that chemicals that they're going to be storing there in that warehouse, to the owner of the warehouse. They did not disclose it to the authorities that should have knew about this here, because different what's called these steps needed to be taken. For example, they needed to inform disaster. Equity disaster, they needed to inform Equality and Health Office. They needed to inform local, provincial as well, especially, what are they currently storing there. But when that fire erupted, the firefighters, again, they were running there like headless chickens, thinking that it's just a fire. And they were surprised when they got there, even considering that it was even difficult for them to get to the fire, because the roads were blocked, rocks and streets. It was during the unrest. So it was even difficult for them to even get there, because it was during the time of the chaos, the uprising. That's what I call it uprising of the people. Yeah, I know we have different opinions. Other people might say no, it's this and that, but I believe that people were exercising I know it actually, we were shooting ourselves on the foot in some instant because, economically as a country, as different municipality, we suffered big time, all the damage that it was caused, but yeah, unfortunately, sometimes when people exercise their rights, someone will really feel the pinch. Considering that other people also lost their jobs as well. It's not a good thing, but it happened. Yeah. So basically, this is another KZN resin factory as well, right here in Jacob, just below us, literally about 1K, if not less than a K, just below the city office. Yeah, they storing resin because of one of their product that they do. But there's a lot of bioproducts as well that come from that is flammable stuff. These guys came again, with water, and you cannot, extinguish, flammable substances like this with water. It's just how it is. But yeah, lack of disaster management plan, in the city. It has been an ongoing problem, with our disaster management. They are reactive, they are not proactive to incidents and issues. So that's why we are in this mess. Yeah, so basically, yeah. I won't go back to the section 24. And yeah, there is no disaster and risk identification and response plan. It does not exist. So these are issues that really need to be tackled and need to be spoken to, robustly. Yeah. Basically, yeah, I take air quality sample, I take bucket samples, and then basically we test the air. So my work as well is actually going to areas where there are incidents, and sometimes not even a major incident like a fire, no, but possibly there's a gas smelling that's affecting the community or any kind of chemical that's affecting human health. I'm there taking samples and then basically then sending it to the lab. I'm using my equipment and then taking it to the lab. We currently using a lab in Pretoria, Chemtech. And when I came at SETI early 2008, 2009, 2010, we used to use a lab in California, and unfortunately, it was very costly for us as an organization with kind of funding constraints to actually take those take those samples to the lab all the way in California. It was too pricey. So we had to look around, who can we get, a reputable company that we can trust, that they can do a proper job. And then after looking around, testing a few of these companies here in Durban, Northern Cape and so forth. But yeah, we were kind of happy with Chemtech in Pretoria. Yeah, so basically, we know benzene is carcinogenic. For example, benzene is one of the most dangerous chemicals because it's carcinogenic. It's a cancer causer, cancer trigger, and benzene is one of the common chemical or pollutants that's emanating from these refineries, so it's a problem. Yeah. So yeah, benzene health effects. So basically, these are benzene health effects. I won't dwell on that. It's something that's information that's freely available. And yeah, and people with asthma and children and elderly, they're always bearing the biggest brunt because, we know children and elderly people, they are fragile in terms of their system. So, they are the most people that are exposed and feeling the pinch. Yeah. So yeah, guys, we also work around the issues of landfill sites as well as Dolphin Coast down down in the north, way around Stenga. That's a big age um, landfill site, highly hazardous landfill site. Yeah, so it's not domestic stuff, it's chemical stuff that's being dumped there. Yeah, so we work around there as well because you can imagine all the chemicals from the province being dumped in that landfill site. Obviously, it will affect local residents, because smell has no boundary, so obviously pollution has no boundary. It affects them, miles and miles away from the landfill site itself. But also there's another landfill site as well, of which is also highly hazardous, double big H landfill sites. That is Shongweni landfill site as well. Yeah. Yeah, and there was a health study that was done years back, 2002, 2002, 2006, completed in 2007, and there was recommendations there. And then, there were also the issues of the 4 schools in the south, primary schools that had acute respiratory illnesses, and then it actually broke the Guinness Book of Record with 52% of kids from schools, especially Settlers Primary, were diagnosed with asthma, and yeah, basically that's the most frustrating thing, innocent children having to suffer. So Chief, if you can guide me with time. Do I still have 2 minutes? I think I have about 3 slides now.
Yeah. I just 3 minutes. Just wrap it up,
Okay.
and then
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
hear from the
All right.
audience if they have got
All right.
questions. Yes.
Okay, sure. So yeah, basically I've spoken about the health study, summary of key findings. This is information that we can always freely share with anyone. Yeah, the South Durban Basin, the multi-point plan, the core elements was there. It was a very progressive plan, but our municipality, especially the health department that's needed to carry this MPP, multi-point plan, they deliberately allowed it to be dismantled, as the officials, as the people that should have made sure that it does not die, it does not collapse. Yeah. So as you can see, families, learners, and educators bearing the brunt of gas leaks, from different companies and industries, innocent children going to school, but not realizing that they will be exposed to these kind of chemicals. Small children, as you can see, the Section 24A has been compromised big time. And what are these industries doing about it? No one. What is our government doing about it? Not so much, because who has the money to challenge such big multinational corporation that has all the money in the world? No one. But our government is allowing them to do as they please. So basically, these are the issues around South Durban, guys. And we firmly believe that the issue of permitting is the most critical issue as well, because that's where the cracks are. If the permitting system has loopholes, that's where industries will feel that they have power or they have a leeway to do as they please. So pipelines underneath people's properties, next to people's properties, it's another biggest problem as well. These are gas pipelines, explosive pipelines, so yeah, as Judge Albi says, when we breathe the air of freedom, we do not wish to choke on hidden fumes. I think the people of South Durban, the people of Secunda, Embalenhle, and other areas, people of Mpumalanga, Emalahleni, definitely, they are for this quote that when they breathe the air of freedom, they do not wish to choke on hidden fumes. Amandla, comrades.
Amandla. Ngawethu.
Awethu.
Thank you so much, Bongani, for this brilliant presentation. I've learned a lot.
Thanks, Chief.
When I was still in Durban, I used to, drive along those areas, Clearwood,
Yeah.
and the trucks and the fumes, everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't just maybe stand there or just be in that place for 30 minutes. I've had enough. I can't breathe. I can't. So I can't imagine people that stay there for years and
Exactly.
so forth. So
Yeah.
I like how you framed everything,
Mm.
how oil refineries pose as an environmental hazard,
Yeah.
with flaring flames, which increases risk, and of course, which also decreases the quality of the air that we breathe.
True.
I'm also impressed by how you touched on how, racial discrimination and, of
Yeah.
course, from the colonial time or the apartheid time, how they interacted with exposing Black people to hazardous environments. Obviously,
100%.
speaks to the colonial and apartheid town planning
Yeah.
format that prevailed at that time, and that's still persistent to this very day. Unfortunately, 30 years into
Yeah.
our democracy, where natives were forced to settle in inhabitable areas.
Yes.
So let me abuse, my position as chair and start with the question. Of course, Ben, I recognize you. You go after me. I've got a question.
Sure.
Your organization, have you at one point as South Durban Community Environment Alliance been in talks with these big corporates, sort of engage and, you show them your side on. I know capitalism actually, they will actually know that the damage that they are causing, but they don't really care. They are after profits.
Mm.
But have
Yeah.
you at least tried to appeal to their conscience, if they still have any, on how, how their, everyday business, sort of
Mm.
it suffocates, the rest of the community. I'll take Ben. You can answer that question after Ben has also asked you a question. Ben, you can go on. Nice to see Professor
Comrade, sorry,
Mthembu. You're
comrade.
welcome.
Yes. Can I thanks for the question.
Yeah,
Comrade. Can I connect on my phone, because we haven't eaten, so I'll be my colleague is fighting here with me. We will be communicating now over the phone. So now I've connected my phone. Yeah. So yeah.
That's fine.
We will see. Yeah, at least I'll be multitasking. How's that?
All right.
Yeah,
Ben,
so
shoot.
from the
Thank you very much, comrade. I'm audible, comrade Denford. I'm at home now. I'm not in university. Can you hear me?
Oh, it's fine.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. No, I want to thank the comrade Bongani for his presentation. Let me check with you whether, as you're doing this work, in terms of your reach, are you reaching out to other places like Eastern Cape, Gauteng, because your job should be a South African job, because in South Africa, there's a lot of work that need to be done in terms of environmental issues. And what provinces are you covering? I know that you cover the whole of KZN, you know more the South Durban Environmental Alliance anymore. I think you should consider changing your name, because
sorry, comrade. sorry, comrade. Can you please? Sorry, comrade. Can you please start that question again? I think I had a problem with my mic here. So your question, comrade Ben. Can you please start from the beginning, Chief?
okay, Com. No, I wanted to say, Com, I'm audible. Can you hear me now, Bongan?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%,
I want to thank
yeah.
you about your work you do in terms of environmental issues, in terms of covering KZN, because I know that you go as far as Richards Bay, all over the province. I'm aware that you go to Eastern Cape, Colombian, and other areas, but I want to check your reach, how far you go in the country, because I'm aware that your job is supposed to cover the whole country. You are needed in terms of this type of work. You specialize in this work, and there are very few people who are doing this work, and it's very critical in terms of environment. preserving our environment. And also, I want to know whether, have you considered changing your name? Because South Durban Environment Alliance was meant to deal with the issues of environmental issues in the South Durban environment, in South Durban, because you had your engine and so on. Now you have moved beyond that. I know that you have chased engine away. So are you considering changing your name so that your name can speak to the areas that you're covering? Your name must not speak to a specific area. Thank you, Com.
Thank you, Ben. Bongani, if you can respond to my question and that of Ben. Thank you, comrade.
Thanks very much, comrades.
For example, is also stating.
Thank you, colleague. Thank you so much.
So can I respond now? Can I respond, comrades?
Yes, Bongani.
All right, sure. Percent audible here.
You are.
Can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, 100%. No, yeah, Com. The first question, basically, yes, we engage with governments. For example, we have been in Parliament with Environment and Fisheries Portfolio Committee on several occasions. You know, in Parliament in Cape Town, we've engaged with the previous Minister of Environment, Crisis predecessor, Mama, the late Mama Osashona, I just forgot her name. We've engaged with her on several occasions. That was early 2010, 2011, 2012, you know, before your COP17 in 2011 that we hosted as a country. We've engaged with Baba Chrissy on many occasions, the Portfolio Committee. We engage them on many platforms, as well as the local authorities as well. You know, and unfortunately, the local authorities, we then, in most cases, engage on sort of like, it seems like we fight with each other because they are not on the ground. They are not on the ground, and it feels like we are doing their work now. Because, example, for me to go out and take air samples and then take the air samples to the lab, that on its own, it's costing us as an NPO with limited resources. However, we do it because it's necessary and it's information that we need for our records to also empower the very same communities that we are representing. But obviously, when we do that, you know, for example, I will call a senior air quality officer to say, hey, you know what, there's an incident happening in this particular location, or I have received a call from a particular community member. I'm actually on my way driving to that community member, to listen and also address the issue. But I also feel that as the authority, as the officials, you should also avail yourself for any other person within your office. Hey, comrades, it's always like now we are engaging on a one-to-one, you know, sort of like debates or fights, and they are not willing to actually come out, or they are not willing to actually, you know, come out and address issues, and then so that we can find solutions collectively. I write emails after emails. There's a recent email that I just wrote now about a company right here in Clearwood that was emitting high level of sulfur dioxide. Sulfur is also another dangerous chemical. It was brought to my attention I went around because the person was not sure where was this thing emanating from. Went around, did my investigation, found the culprits, phoned these guys, took photos because you could see the yellow, thick smoke coming from these chimneys. It's a clear indication it's raw sulfur. But did they heed to my call? Did they come to address the issue? No. As much as I know who I'm dealing with, I know that I need to deal with them on a paper trail, emails, so that when push comes to shove, there will be a time where all this information, all these records will need to be put out to say, yes, I made attempts to speak to you by email, by call. Here's the information, but you guys decided to ignore us. So it's an issue because, you know, we are dealing with people who are really, I feel that they do not have the community's interest at heart. You know, and it's a pity because they took an oath to be public servant. So there's numerous letters, formal letters, putting them on record now. The portfolio committee, the minister, you know, there's a paper trail. I remember the last response of my email that I sent to Barbara Chrissy. She responded to me after a month and 2 weeks, early this year. Reason being because she knew that our portfolio, the Environmental and Fisheries Portfolio Committee, they were going to have an engagement with us. So she then had pressure to respond to my email. Obviously, it must be a PA or something. So they know the issues. We have brought these issues to their attention, but I think there's that lack. And I mean, there's even a political lack in terms of that will to act. That political will is not there from our politicians as well to actually address these issues. So that's number one. And number
I think we've lost Bongani. Let's wait for Bongani to rejoin.
how do we then change our name because we no more just the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance? For example, the office in Richards Bay is called South Durban Community Environmental Alliance, and it should not be because it's not in the South Durban and it's in a different municipality. You know, it's in Richards Bay. So I think we also really need to be very strategic. I fully agree because the issue of name, it's an issue of also being strategic and being relevant in that particular communities or community that you are working with. So it is a food of thought for us as an organization to really dive deep into looking at how can we rebrand ourselves, especially in other provinces or in other municipalities in other cities, in order for us to be relevant as well. Ngiyabonga, I hope I did not leave anything else complete.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from others? Maybe I can just ask you another question, Bongani, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Do you have any collaboration, be it vertical collaboration or horizontal collaborations with, you know, like-minded organizations that are working within the space of environmental justice, environmental rights, etc.?
Yes, leadership. Definitely, we do work with like-minded organizations, and we've been doing that for years. For example, 2011, during the COP17, we as an organization were one amongst the 16 key role players to organize and mobilize and create awareness around the issues of COP17. the conference of the parties that was being hosted in Durban. So we work with different different like-minded organizations. As much as we're not so much like-minded to details, because some organization, for example, they will be possibly taking money from the enemy, multinational or whatever the case may be, and it's against our policy. But we then have an MOU to say, okay, let's agree to disagree on our working relationship. But because we are having a common goals on this particular element, let us agree and then set out an MOU to work specifically on these issues. So we do work with like-minded organizations, and unfortunately, we do not stand, on the same principles with them, and then unfortunately, then it becomes a problem because we do not want to compromise our image. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bongani. Are there any questions? If there are no more other questions, maybe we can call it a day. I think we are just 9 minutes over 2 o'clock now. Thank you so much, Bongani, for making time and to come to this platform and discuss your work at the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance. I've read the work that you are doing at the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance, and I think it's progressive work, in this time of climate change, the decline in air quality, people dying of respiratory diseases and conditions. I think your work is very important and is needed in this community. And also to balance the scale. That's why I asked you, are you engaging with these, these big corporates, your Engine, your Shell, and so forth? Because you sort of, regulate their power or regulate their influence in the environment, and you sort of come in where maybe the government is failing to control them, and as civil society, you step in, you take that space, and you sort of make them account, to the environmental harm that they are causing. So I really appreciate you coming to the Center for Civil Society and giving us your talk. I hope that there will be future collaborations between us and your organization. And thanks to everyone who joined in. Please be on the lookout. We've got other, I think, talks with in this special seminar series with treatment action campaign as well. So be on the lookout for the adverts, and we thank you for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, comrades. Much appreciated. Siyabonga.
Yes.
Bonga thina, bafo.
Danford, don't leave, ne? 1 minute.